are part of the editorial board of Current Affairs Magazine, and I am Nathan Robinson, editor of Current Affairs Magazine, and I am here tonight with Oren Nimni.
Hello, I'm Oren Nimni, your legal editor, here for all the legal insights.
Vanessa A.B.
Hi, hello.
Social media editor, and senior editor, Brianna Reddix.
Hi, I'm here representing seniors.
We are here
seniors
tonight.
Turned out tonight.
We're going to talk about the election that happened, the midterm election in the United States, and the things that happened in it, what we make of those things, what was frustrating, what was encouraging, and what it all means for the future of the country, which we are uniquely qualified to analyze and tell you about.
Well, we are the only magazine that correctly predicted the 2016 election.
That's actually factually true.
We wisely made no predictions about this election so that we couldn't be wrong.
And we weren't.
Still batting 100 or 1,000. How does baseball work?
We were not wrong. And everything that we predicted came true. Mm-hmm. So first, maybe we should go through and talk about what are some of the things, because a lot of things happened last night.
How many things?
About that much. A lot. It was quite a lot. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we should just go through some of the notable ones, or ones that we personally found notable, good or bad. Candidates, etc.
Yeah.
Some cool ballot initiatives won.
What cool ballot initiatives won, or Nimni?
So Amendment 4 in Florida, which enfranchised 1.4 million people who had previously been incarcerated. That was cool. It was very exciting. It should also change, hopefully, the way Florida elections work in the future.
Which we need, because the other results in Florida were horrific.
Yeah, Florida I was so excited about. I was like, Gilliam, and I was like really, really excited. And then, it didn't happen. But maybe these 1.4 million more voters will help out.
Because
Louisiana now has unanimous juries. That's exciting.
Which you would think we would have had, but
I
we
wouldn't
didn't.
do that because I've seen the Louisiana.
Louisiana.
Massachusetts did not enact a horrendous repeal of trans rights, so that's cool because that was on the ballot. So yay, Massachusetts.
Automatic voter registration in a lot of places,
Mm-hmm.
including Nevada. Michigan had a lot of voter-related initiatives, right?
Yeah, they got same day as well, right? Same day voter registration, which is
same
cool.
day option to vote straight down the ticket.
Marijuana one.
Someone legalized weed, right?
Yeah. Michigan.
Michigan.
And then there were a couple of states that did medical marijuana, including Utah, of all places. So
with new freshman Senator Mitt Romney representing them now.
Yeah. The candidates that won.
How many states does Mitt Romney get to go to?
And as many as he wants. I don't, I should probably know this, but I don't actually understand what the rule is as far as, because here in Massachusetts, Scott Brown ran when, whatever her name was, now I'm forgetting, lost the Democratic race for our senator. Martha Coakley. Oh, yeah, she was an awful candidate. She lost a number of elections, but one of the elections resulted in Scott Brown being elected. And then after he lost, he moved to New Hampshire and ran. And it just seems like you can just kind of move places and run. So, and wasn't there some guy that ran against Bernie that moved for Vermont specifically to challenge Bernie?
Oh, was this Al? Was this Al Giordano, or was this someone else?
I think it may have been.
Yeah, but then he got accused of serial sexual misconduct, so his campaign kind of tanked.
You'd think that wouldn't hurt a candidate these days.
Now the point I tried to make in the article that I did about last night was that it seemed like a lot of progressive candidates didn't do great, but a lot of ballot initiatives did do really well. and it seemed like every time people had the opportunity to vote on the policies themselves, those policies passed. That was the point that I initially made, and then I found out my point was completely wrong, because it turns out that a lot of really good ballot initiatives also failed.
Yeah. Well, and some progressive candidates actually did pretty well, even if they lost, right?
So I'm
Like,
completely wrong.
like Gilliam and O'Rourke actually did pretty well, as far as like what you would have expected before.
O'Rourke's results were tough to watch. I was watching MSNBC at a friend's, and it just, for a few hours there, they were neck and neck before Harris County came in. I was also in Harris County. I was also at a watch party, and one person was just driving me crazy. This was a person I had never met in my life, and I dared to look saddened by the fact that Beto went from basically having a less than 1% difference with Cruz's tally to a big 3% swing. And I looked a little bummed, I suppose. And this man was like, "Oh, I feel so bad for you. You've put all your eggs in that basket. I feel so bad for you." And it's like, "No, sir, I have not hoped since 2016. I'm sorry. I dared show, a little bit of hope, in the last 30 minutes because of the giant scoreboard in front of us." I was just so irritated. I didn't expect him to win, but he did really well. He got millions of votes in Texas.
He did.
Yeah.
And we have 2 Democratic Socialists won House seats, right?
Yes, which is more than there have been since the 1920s, which is great.
That's crazy.
Wow. Oh,
but
you mean around the country?
The socialists, yeah. But Beto O'Rourke is better than any Democrat in Texas for since
the Democrats were
since
racist.
they actually had
Hey.
Getting our jokes in.
I want more Texas coverage from Brianna.
I was about to say, all is not lost in Texas, because I've been telling everyone that in Dilley, Texas, we managed to elect a progressive county commissioner who claims that he's going to take the arsenic out of our water. So I'm excited. He's also been quoted in a number of articles saying he doesn't like the fact that we intern children in this town. So I'm going to call.
So he's a radical leftist.
I'm going to call him a radical.
Sounds like a good man.
Yeah. Well,
I do like that there was a bunch of. It does seem like there were a bunch of local commissioner, or I mean, we talked on a previous podcast actually about the DA races a little bit that were progressive. There were a couple of progressive DAs that were elected, including in Suffolk County in Boston, which was pretty exciting. There was a Democratic Socialist judge elected out of Houston.
What's his name?
Franklin.
Yes.
Him.
Yeah.
And
he's a public defender, right?
Franklin Bynum.
Franklin Bynum is a public defender, right? And
and he thinks capitalism, quote, capitalism drives the horrors of this system.
That's specified he's a defender, never a prosecutor. As if that was a thing you'd be like, but was he a prosecutor?
Look, a lot of sometimes people flip back and forth.
Well, he's a criminal court judge, so not only and in Houston, which I mean, it really is remarkable to have someone like that in Houston, considering that for a long time it was called the capital of capital punishment, and the Houston prosecutors were the worst even in Texas. They distinguished themselves even among Texas municipalities. So to have a criminal court judge who's a Democratic Socialist is.
I mean, I don't want to say too much good happened, because there's a lot of bad, and we can talk about that. But particularly the very, very local races and the kind of ideas that were up for play in this election were still pretty encouraging as far as things go. Everything's going to go to shit, obviously. More judges will be confirmed by the Senate and blah 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 blah. But
we don't
Dean
say
Heller
that.
lost his seat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
this is true.
Who was that? Who's that?
Dean Heller. He's one of those fake moderates. He was a little less vocal than Jeff Flake, so at least he had that going for him. But he just voted along with, he basically bet on Trump. And and Nevadans said thanks, but no thanks, and they voted in Jackie Rosen. I actually don't know anything about her, but I feel like just not having Dean Heller is great. I'll settle for a boring Democrat. It's fine. Yeah, I'm pretty stoked about it. There were some.
He's
Sorry.
gone.
Wait, what?
Oh, I was just saying Scott Walker's gone.
Yes.
Exciting. Because that guy sucks. Like everyone hates that guy.
Oh,
I think maybe just more people hate Ted Cruz, but
No.
Scott Walker is gone forever, so we can't feel too bad about last night. And the other reason we can't feel too bad is that Chris Kobach is maybe gone forever. Let's say he's gone forever. Let's say he's gone forever.
Yeah, I've had a mixed day because I was very excited that he lost the gubernatorial race because it looked like he was trying to like poise himself for like a future presidential run, which would be a nightmare. And then Jeff got fired.
Wait, so could you just, for those who are unfamiliar with the record of Chris Kobach?
Chris Kobach is just this like nightmare of a human being. He is a, for a politician, telegenic person. He is a graduate of Harvard Law School. He's sort of polished and articulate. And he's also a terrible human being who wants to restrict immigration policy. He also wants to restrict pretty much everyone from voting.
I just want to correct the record. Chris Kobach is a graduate of Yale University. That is where he acquired his JD.
Oh wait, where did he go to? What's his Harvard
Nathan?
connection? He definitely has one.
He went to Harvard undergrad.
Oh, like.
okay,
Yeah.
so both Brianna and Nathan are implicated here.
Right.
Okay, correction. He went to Harvard undergrad and Yale Law School, so worst of both worlds. Yeah. But he's one of those people who's actually very knowledgeable about policies. Like he's not one of those sort of ideologues who doesn't really kind of know the system. Like he's very good at finding policies to make people's lives miserable. Like he was the architect of most of the policies to basically like, conduct racial profiling of people in their cars, immigration stops. So he's a bad person.
Nice.
Yeah. So he lost the race in Kansas. And then Jeff Sessions got fired today, which I was really excited about. But then there's already noise happening that that Chris Kobach may replace Jeff Sessions, which is my personal hell. So yeah.
This is neither here. Sorry, this is neither here nor there. But I went on Wikipedia to look up Chris Kobach, and it says that his grandparents were Bohemian and German on his father's side. Bohemia is not a place, right?
Isn't it a region?
Wait, what was the first one?
Bohemia.
Bohemian. That's
Bohemia it was a country or a
a
kingdom.
living room aesthetic.
Yeah, it's
It's not a country.
Isn't it like?
Yeah, he's also not a
Um,
Bohemian in that sense.
Is it like Bohemia, like in like Czechoslovakia, like where Czechoslovakia or the Czech Republic is now? Am I completely messing that up?
Oh,
Anyway,
no, you're right.
it's neither here
Wikipedia
nor
says
there.
Yeah,
you're right.
like a
I'm sorry.
scandal in Bohemia. Got it.
It's fine. They could have just said Czech.
Fine.
It's fine. Go on.
Of course, that's
I
your reference.
apologize for derailing us. My cultural insensitivity.
No, I liked that.
We're gonna get letters
Go back. You are a living room style. How dare you?
from dozens of Bohemians.
Sorry, Brianna, you were
Living
saying
room
why
aesthetic.
this man is bad.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add. He's a bad person. He was at first tipped to be head of DHS, but then he wasn't because he ran for governor. And now that he's not governor, he's going to probably do something else awful. So
And men like that are scary because, as you mentioned, he's a little bit. He's got the nice teeth and the family. There's a perfect family and the degrees, and I am sort of in the future more scared of men like that almost than men like Trump. And I am worried that there are a number of those kinds of people being raised in the current younger generation that's growing up. I'm worried that the telegenic neo-Nazi will hit us eventually.
Like the person who's not going to be considered vulgar the way Trump is by the
right. Yes.
I mean, if the New York Times keep profiling them at some point, it's going to work.
It's a good way to launch your political career, get a profile in the New York Times. Okay, wait. But so back on track. What other races were either extremely exciting or extremely saddening for you all?
I mean,
We haven't talked about
Gillum
Stacey
thing,
Abrams.
Yeah, but just one thing on the Gillum thing was that it was the fact that it was so close was extremely frustrating. And Ron DeSantis, I just want to mention, Ron DeSantis is another person who just truly, truly awful. I mean, he cozied up to Trump. I mean, his campaign commercial for this race was the most. I sent it to you, Brianna. You saw it. Yeah, this like he roped his child into this campaign commercial, and he has his children like building the wall out of toy blocks. It's just repulsive. And now he's well, there should be
there's
a
seawall.
Eaten up
a
by
seawall, and there isn't going to be, and Miami's going to get washed away because Ron DeSantis is a climate change there. But I wish
and he is so bad at debating. I just don't understand what is appealing about that man to Floridians. Not that, I mean, I guess no one watches the debates is probably the lesson here.
I feel like who knows?
Yeah, Gillum was good.
He was very good in the
Gillum was
debates.
good.
He was presidential even.
He had some zingers, and then DeSantis' face would just kind of freeze. Just be like, oh, you know.
Yeah, those were my favorite moments.
Yeah.
We still have those.
I gotta say, actually, Gillum's speech pattern, I do not like it.
What is it like?
It's a little too put together. It's
I
just like,
don't know how
it's like it's trying to be presidential. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I see.
I need someone a little like edgy,
A little quirkier, a little alt.
Bohemian.
a little
Yeah.
bohemian. If Czech people complain about this segment of the podcast, they are racist. So do not send us letters.
Ooh.
That will be my go-to.
Hot take.
Abortion.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh,
I was just gonna ask about Stacey Abrams because, like, I mean, you could just say abortion and then it's like, fuck.
Go to 3 different directions.
No. Let's talk about Stacey, but then I want to talk about the abortion measures that were on the ballot because that was.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I just wanted to ask about because I feel like because her race wasn't as close in the end, she sort of dropped off of a little bit of attention. You know, really exciting candidate who lost, but also there was a bunch of accusations, like pretty credible accusations of a bunch of electoral fraud and misconduct in Georgia, including like machines marking it, like when you for Abrams switching to Kemp and, you know, all this sort of other stuff. And I'm wondering, in a sort of like practical, tactical sense, if there's any viability to pushing that kind of, we lost, let's organize better next time. That is a no.
You're also freezing a little bit.
Yeah, my
I'm
audio
sorry.
broke up a lot, so I was just like, yeah.
You all looked so attentive. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that was like, what does he say?
Wait, so what did you ask?
Just about the accusations in the Abrams race that there was a bunch of electoral kind of fishiness.
And she hasn't conceded yet, right?
No.
And what
she's fighting it.
Is
I
that
did
true?
expect
Oh.
it to be closer.
Yeah.
The way it was.
Yeah, I
talked
expect it to be
about.
closer, but I'm sort of wondering, like, what do we do now with like those sort of the fishiness?
Well, people are places like the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights, I'm sure, are on top of it, suing.
I don't know.
But
Ask
you
Sam.
sue and it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah, this is one reason it's hard to answer this question is because I don't. How do you know when you have a bunch of really credible suggestions that there was widespread voter suppression, but you don't know how much of the percentage could be attributed to that. What do you do? Do you make it a huge part of your campaign? Do you just file the lawsuits and hope that eventually something comes of it?
Right. I mean, those are the two possible strategies, right? Like you either use it as an organizing point or you use it as a legal thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or you ignore it, I guess.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's sort of like, it feels a bit, I don't know, lackluster to be like, okay, well,
yes.
it's what it is. But
well,
I kind of feel that way.
You stole the election, oh well. Well, I mean, that's kind of how 2000 went too, right?
Yeah.
It was, 2000 was just such an obviously fraudulent election. And then at a certain point you had to go, okay, well, we just accept that as part of the reality that we live in and we have to do better next time and stop complaining about it and move on.
Yeah.
That's the slow slide into a system where no elections are ever reliable again, unfortunately.
Right.
If everyone's just like, I don't want to look like a sore loser, so I'm not going to say anything. But you do look like a sore loser, so it's a problem.
Speaking of sore losers, well, maybe I shouldn't frame it that way. Ding, ding. No. I wanted to just go back to Ted Cruz's and Beto's race. I was on the Twitters today. And I saw a lot of people on Twitter were pointing to the demographics of who voted for Beto over Ted Cruz, and it's like majority of Black women voted for Beto, majority of white women voted for Cruz, and then there are like the follow-up posts that are like, talk to a white woman in your life about getting her life together, which is like, okay, fine.
You gotta stop succumbing to the animal magnetism of Ted Cruz, white women. Come on.
But it's like we were all looking at the same stats and people would sort of post the same chart and no one was talking about the high number of Latinos that voted for Ted Cruz, whose campaign had many dog whistles. And so it's kind of odd to me because it's like, and I guess I wish Bree was here because then I could preach to her choir. But there's a lot of emphasis basically being put on like white people voting for Ted Cruz because they're racist. So in that way, like racism is framed as being sort of all powerful. But then at the same time, if a bunch of Latino men are also voting for the reactionary candidate, and we do know that like some Latino men in Texas, like not an insignificant number, voted for Trump, it's also like, is racism really that all powerful? Because it seems like in that case, it's actually not so important. It's like maybe so negligent that like it can be easily overcome and people are voting for the conservative for other reasons.
It was kind of fascinating watching the attack ads in South Texas and how they kind of like the sort of like Latino angle came in, because actually very frequent points in the attack ads was like that Beto O'Rourke's first name is not really Beto. And also, like, there was my candidate for representative was Gina Jones, or her running name was Gina Ortiz Jones because her mother is Filipina, and they kept bringing up that like she had never used the name Ortiz before now, and that she was just bringing it in to like appeal to like Latino voters in South Texas. So like, there's a lot of like kind of weird stuff that goes on that like I don't think really gets talked. Like, people don't really know how to deal with like Mexican American and Latino voters in Texas because they don't always conform to like the like demographic expectations that you would think if you were just treating like all Latino voters as like in the entire country as like a block group. So yeah, it's really interesting.
But there is a weird conservative swath in like, or even in the 2016 election amongst Latino voters. But yeah, the Beto O'Rourke thing I thought was funny because I remember there was some exchange where Ted Cruz was like, "That's not his name. He's just using that because that's a Latino nickname." And Beto O'Rourke was like, "Your name's not Ted.
Your name is Rafael.
You're just using that because that's what white people like. What are you talking about?"
Oh yeah, no, it's great.
We have an article in the new issue 15 of Current Affairs by Max Alvarez, who is a writer usually for The Baffler, first time with us, who's written an article about his podcast, Working People, where he talks to working people about their jobs. But his first interviewee was his father, and his father was a Mexican immigrant to the United States who voted for Trump. And, Max, I was having a chat with Max about how the way Max thinks about Trump voters is so, every time he hears the phrase Trump voter, the main one in his life is his Mexican immigrant father, who lost everything in the recession and then went to drive for Uber and was an economically anxious person, because they do exist, and how all of the stereotypes he knows personally that they don't apply, because literally he's observing those stereotypes not applying right before his eyes. So
yeah.
Generalizing.
The world is
Not a good
complicated.
idea.
It's a complicated world, and I think that's like last night's results show what a complicated world it is, right? You had Vermont elected a Democratic Socialist senator, Bernie Sanders got reelected, and a Republican governor, and you have all of these places that are electing people that you wouldn't necessarily, like Houston's electing a Democratic Socialist, and then at the same time, like in Maryland, Democrats are voting for the Republican and throwing Ben Jealous under the bus, which is a sour point for me.
Let's talk about Ben Jealous.
Do you want to talk about your jealousy?
Hey,
Get it out.
Pissed off. Obama was late to endorse Ben Jealous too. He dragged his feet on endorsing him.
But he eventually did.
Oh yeah, he did eventually. But a lot of prominent Democrats endorsed the Republican, because the Republican is a popular, moderate Republican governor, and Ben Jealous, who's great, but just I guess is not. He's considered too radical, even though he's really, really not. But he did support Bernie openly in 2016. Just got totally betrayed by the National Democratic Party.
So Rachel Cohen, who writes for The Intercept and is a acquaintance, I think, friendish of mine, I think followed that race pretty closely, and she lives around here. But today, I don't think she had been vocal about it during the election, but like the day after, she was saying on Twitter how she thinks that like Ben Jealous also didn't run a great race. Like he was not very good at raising money, and that some of it could be blamed on his campaign and how they approached it. And I don't know enough. Like I haven't followed it closely. Honestly, I don't think the Democratic Party is hurting for money, so he could have benefited from support, certainly from the outside. But it's possible also that Ben Jealous had a little bit to do with Ben Jealous losing. But that being said, I mean, Muriel Bowser, who's the mayor of the District of Columbia, pretended that she didn't know what was going on with the Maryland race. Like our district, his state, hold hands, like we are so close together. You can take a metro from the district into Maryland. This idea that she's not watching a race in which a Black man, the former head of the NAACP, is running, like the idea that she has no idea what's going on in that race is just absurd. But she is also a terrible human being who won another term. But lots of people wrote in, apparently, did not vote for her. She supported the DC City Council in overturning Initiative 77.
Which was the tipped minimum wage.
That's right. Yeah. Basically bringing tipped workers on the minimum wage scale, which is increasing in the district.
Which the people of Washington, D.C. voted for, and then the city council overturned the popular will.
That's right. They overturned the popular will. One of the city councilors who, her name is Elisa Silverman. She is a great progressive and really an ally of the left here in DC. She voted against overturning Initiative 77, which, by the way, was backed by like people like Jose Andres, the big restaurateur here. Yeah, he loves to like tweet at Trump and like support immigrants, blah blah blah. Lots of my staff is Mexican, and I respect everyone. And like, yeah, he's like pretty great on some issues, but he was a monster when it came to Initiative 77. He was like attacking reporters who dared like point out how Initiative 77 would actually raise like the standard of living for lots of people. But anyway, Elisa Silverman was a big supporter of the measure, and the Democrats in DC basically erected a challenger out of thin air, this woman Diane Reeder, who is it's just like terrible, very pro-business, very like sort of very corporate candidate. They like propped her up to challenge Elisa, and Diane Reeder got crushed in the election. But they ran these really weird like nativist ads. So Diane Reeder is a Black woman, and like one of her campaign ads was literally like, it was like, I'm a 4th generation Washingtonian. Elisa Silverman was born in Baltimore. It's like, it's 40 minutes away. I don't understand. Why is this? That's just bizarre. Anyway, Elisa won. The good guys won here in DC.
Oh, nice.
I hope someone can challenge Muriel Bowser, because then people like Ben Jealous can have allies. See, I'm bringing it around.
Yeah, no, that was good. But I like the idea of like also more progressive, like super local, like mayor's races. I don't know what happened in a bunch of local mayor's races or if who was up, but it seemed like that got less play, just generally. But you know, yay municipalities.
The DSA had a ton of local victories. In fact, if you want to feel encouraged about last night's results, go to the DSA Twitter feed, because they've got all these, you know, people running for sometimes offices I've never heard of. Like I don't even know that, like, you know, like charter oversight committee or whatever.
Well, someone I went to law school with who is wonderful was running for the Austin Community College District Trustee in place 8, which I was not aware was a position that existed, but apparently was hotly contested and is now in a runoff. So
everybody wants to be number 8.
Yeah, you know, vote Garacanian for that really position.
But you know, it's a sort of it's a quiet infiltration, which is wonderful. There are a ton of DSA backed state legislators and city council people now, and you know, I've written about how the Socialist Party in the early part of the 20th century, around 1906, 1908, had 1,000 elected officials around the country, and then they all disappeared. It is being brought back slowly. I mean, the last election and this one, we are getting people in.
We're socialists.
We have 2 women Muslim representatives in the House. Ilan Omar in Minnesota, and the second one is Rashida. What's her last name?
Tlaib.
Yeah. And they're
she's great.
Real progressive, right?
Yeah, I know. They're both excellent.
It's awesome.
I'm very excited about them.
Wait, can we talk about abortion real quick?
Yes.
Yeah.
However, West Virginia is so incorrigible. So no right to abortion was on the ballot. 51.7% voted for that. I would like to believe that is unconstitutional, but that's never stopped anything from getting on the ballot. Alabama also adopted a state policy against abortion. 59% voted in favor of that. Oregon had a ballot measure to ban public abortion funding, and 64% of the population said no. So good for you.
Go Oregon.
Yeah. But that's crazy. That does not bode well. Because they're trying to mount, basically they wanted to get to the Supreme Court, right? Like that's what they're doing.
Yeah, this will be the sort of way that Roe falls apart is, you know, don't overrule Roe, just have all of these ballot measures be ruled constitutional that put, you know, obscene restrictions on abortion.
There were
bummer.
Oh, there were also apparently some pro environmental ballot initiatives that failed.
Oh, what happened to that one about animals out in California that Glenn Greenwald kept retweeting about?
Was there an animals one? Shit.
There was an animal one. Okay,
I know
Nathan's going to do research on
I
that.
know that carbon tax credits got downvoted somewhere, and someone emailed me because I had a kind of positive perspective on a number of things, and they're like, but if you look at the environmental stuff, they're like, big business crushed a bunch of anti-climate change stuff, and the fight and climate change has sunk just even lower on the list of democratic priorities. They never ever talk about it.
Yeah.
We need to put more animals in elected positions.
That's true.
Like non-human animals?
Mm-hmm.
Sortition with animals.
Animal-based sortition. Non-human
God,
animal
there'd be
sortition.
so many fucking ants.
Um,
Oh yeah.
I was gonna ask, does anyone know, should I be upset about Iron Stash? Did he just never have a shot? The guy who was running for
that's
Colorado
sad.
State?
Yeah, Randy Bryce.
Yeah.
Oh, animals won.
Oh, the animals won. Good job, animals.
Cool.
California votes to ban cages for hens, give farm animals more room. Well done.
Good job, animals.
Yay.
They had a good ground game.
Hens are gonna be happy. Sorry, yeah, Randy Bryce. Poor guy. Jeez.
He was 40,000 vote behind the winner. Yeah, I guess it turns out having lots of Twitter followers doesn't mean anything.
Well, DeRay found that out when he ran for mayor of Baltimore. And
That was my favorite race.
And came in last.
That was my favorite race ever.
Like number 19.
Did you see today he like posted a picture of himself in a black sweater, like holding his iconic blue Patagonia jacket? Like,
is he like taking it off? He's like getting serious.
Yeah, maybe. I was like, just tell me what it means. I don't want to speculate. Is he just changing brands? It seems more likely.
Yeah.
Like
maybe he's like shedding the Democratic Party. Like, buy blue vest. Hello, like, I don't know, what was it? Black t-shirt? Or
it was like a plain black sweater.
Look,
maybe now he's endorsed by the Gap as opposed to Patagonia.
Yeah, sure. That's probably more likely than him becoming an anarchist.
So, takeaways from last night.
What does it mean for the future?
What does it mean for America and the future?
I don't know. I mean, it seemed like everything stayed pretty similar. Like the House flipped, which is exciting, and actually like might mean some things, maybe for some like particular immigration programs that a lot of the sort of senior Democrats actually have like a stake in the game in. But otherwise, like the Senate stayed the same, so judicial confirmations are still going to suck. Not that many governors' races went for really progressives. Like the one thing that was exciting to me that might bode well for the future was the political organizing and the push behind this election that got a lot of races very close. I'm worried that the same won't happen 2 years from now in that election. Maybe it will, and I'll be really excited, and it'll happen even more. Because there's one of two options, right? Like that this is one step in a continuing building of power for the like progressive left, or it's the progressive left really tried and then didn't succeed that many places, even though they had some successes, and it's going to kind of suck all the air out of their hot air balloon, and they're going to come crashing back down to the desert sands of New Mexico.
Brianna, you were saying to me if this election was kind of built up as a referendum on Trump, and if it was a referendum on Trump, a lot of the American people seem to be kind of fine with Trump, I think is what you said to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think about any of this, I'll be honest. I feel like it does make me feel like the next, like that the future, as we discussed before, that like future conservatives who espouse similar values but with a different packaging might continue to do well. here, and that seems like a big problem to me. And also, like, yeah, it just, I want to feel optimistic, but I'm still scared. I guess I'll just say that.
It's not like the map for the Democrats for the Senate in 2020 still looks really tough. So it seems to me like even in the best case scenario, I mean, like, there's no way in hell that the Democrats are going to pick up like 5 seats in 2020. They are incapable of delivering those kinds of
you mean
results.
because Democratic Socialists of America will pick up those seats? Of
Yeah.
course.
So I just feel like, okay, best case scenario in 2020, we may have to make our peace with having a liberal-ish president, maybe a pretty liberal House, and then a conservative Senate. So I don't know what that means. Sounds like a lot of gridlock.
And part of this is obviously the fault of the Democratic Party, but also the Senate. Part of this is because the Senate is just an extremely undemocratic institution. It was pointed out that I think millions more people voted for Democratic senators last night than Republican senators, and yet Republicans strengthened their hold on the Senate because of the way the institution is arranged. And it is always going to be a really tough fight, just because of the way our wretched Constitution has built this thing.
While you were talking, I just made a tweet that says "Pack the Senate 2020." That can be my new take. We'll write an article.
Pack everything.
Increase the Senate size, sortition and Senate size.
Yeah, pack everything, random selection, solution to all problems.
In 100 years, our great-great-grandchildren will be like, people laughed at this video podcast when they said it, and look at us now, thriving by sortition.
Under our ant government. Everything is wonderful. Everyone knows the place.
So the random selected ant. What do people think about the party as the new reinstated House leader, likely?
Oh, gosh. Nancy Pelosi was so disappointing immediately after the election. The first thing she said was, "We're going to be bipartisan and reach across the aisle," as Republicans were like, "This is the next step towards strangling the Democratic Party to death."
Yeah,
Look forward to working with them.
Like the death throw for the mainstream Democratic Party? Like, do you think that Nancy Pelosi doing that is just like going to convince everyone else that you really just need to go full socialist? Like, come on.
I don't know. I hope so.
The least you could do is be like a little bit of sand in the gears.
You could at least pretend that you want the other side to lose.
That lady loves bipartisanship. She loves it so much.
Yeah, I can't wait when they start like shooting up this caravan to watch the Democrats like pretend to be bipartisan. It's gonna be fun.
Like, hey, now, like, let's we're not gonna be obstruction.
I'll be like,
any of these policies. I mean, because that was for 2 years, as much as possible.
mm-hmm.
When does the caravan get here?
I mean, unclear. It's a bunch of people walking, so they're not on like a reliable timetable.
Okay.
We think it's going to be in a few
They're
weeks.
in Mexico City right now, right?
Yeah.
I would just stay there. Mexico City's so good.
Yeah. I mean, the Mexican government's like tried to like offer people work permits and stuff like that to like get them to stay because we told them they had to do that. But people for some reason don't want to stay in Mexico. Probably because
they heard about Dili and it's arsenic-free water.
Right. Well, I mean, apparently certain organizations that work on the border are entirely responsible for organizing this caravan is the conspiracy theory that Glenn Beck has put out. So I don't know where I had time to do that, but apparently I organized this whole thing. So
It's like we could
Good job.
barely
It seems like it's really well
organize,
organized.
like, podcast recording.
Congratulations.
thank you.
Sorry, Oren. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that was it.
And then
I don't know. I was trying to say, like, Nancy Pelosi sucked.
It just
That
keeps
was sort of my
sucking.
main point, wanting it to get there.
It's extraordinary,
Yeah, she has
really.
a hard time not doing that.
How bad? I mean, the answer always is that she is apparently a phenomenal fundraiser, but we know that that doesn't matter because they poured however many $1 million into John Ossoff's race. Oh, I did just want to mention when you, Vanessa, when you were talking about speech patterns, I was remembering that John Ossoff. One of the funny things when I watched him was how he imitated Obama's speech patterns. He internalized the way that Obama speaks and just tried to impersonate Obama. It was just comical and painful. And
People have said that Beto does that too.
Oh no!
So awkward.
Yeah, I mean, none of them are perfect. Although, did you see the old lady that was pro Beto?
I wanted her to be our senator, honestly.
Who's this?
She was great.
Oh.
Brianna, you can tell this.
They just did an interview with like a little a little old lady and like an orange knit cap and like an oxygen thing, who was just talking about like how much it moved her to like have seen Beto vote for that morning, and that like she thought that it was like just a sign that like that people in America were like better than they had thought, and like it was like she was just very sweet. And she was very very excited. So I think she should be our senator.
Yeah, 3 million people voted Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
Leiter was trying to imagine what could possibly, what could it be like for a person? What is the life of a person who willingly leaves their house to go and vote for Ted Cruz?
She came up with something really
know.
weird too. She like was like, I imagine it's someone who like drives an SUV every day and then like comes home and like chews up all the plaster in their wall and makes it into
I know. I was very confused by her description.
so elaborate.
I was
I mean, I was like, yeah, that does make sense actually. I can picture that happening.
The only possible explanation for how he got 3 million votes. Oh, jeez. God, I would have liked to be rid of
diet
him.
of drywall.
I don't know how else. I mean, he's just the least likable man.
Been in power for so long.
His like campaign like symbol is like a teardrop. It's like he knows he makes people sad and he doesn't care.
I just love the video of him trying to hug his daughter. It's one of my favorite things, just how repulsed she is at the idea of being hugged by her father.
Do you think he will run again in 2020? Because I mean, he did pretty great in 2016. Like he was the last contender. He was the last thing between us and Trump, which is a dark place to be in. But he went really far.
I don't think he will. I don't think. I feel like he's too close to like want to challenge Trump. I feel like if there's a Republican challenger, it'll be someone more like Mitt Romney.
God, who will lose badly?
At least he's nice to look at.
Oh, hot take.
God! And that's mine. Yeah. Do you guys know that I donated to Ted Cruz on accident a long time ago? I've told you this.
Accident?
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say. Someone knows how it is to
I
did.
How's your drywall nest going?
Yeah, I was doing my summer in DC in 2011, and I don't know, it's like friends invited me, FedSuck friends, not just any friends, FedSuck friends. We're like, oh yeah, this guy, Boyden Gray is gonna have like some fundraiser at his mansion in Georgetown. There will be like free booze, you know, you should come. And then this guy who's like an alum, a Harvard FedSuck alum, will be there. I was like, okay, whatever. I didn't know who it was. So I donated like $20 and I put down my email address. Big mistake. He sent my address. First of all, they sold it to everyone under the sun. Like they sold it to the Heritage Foundation. I was getting envelopes from Ben Carson with like pennies in it. And like, if you vote for Ben Carson, we will save you money. And here's the first penny. And I was like, what is this? Take me
my
out.
God.
I think to this day, I still get Ted Cruz emails, even though I have unsubscribed millions of times.
That pennies thing is so weird. That's like what they do to try and get you to donate to like Save the Children. They like send you pennies in the mail, and they're like, "This penny could feed a child for a year."
Like, why did you send it to me then?
Right?
Give it to the child.
The child.
Yeah. Yeah. Or to get Carson elected. Yeah.
This year, Ted Cruz was trying. Did you see the envelopes he was sending out that looked like they were supposed to be an official summons?
Yeah.
It said summons enclosed, and they looked like a government document, but it wasn't at all. It was just an ad to vote for Ted Cruz.
That
Very sneaky.
made me so mad. One, because it was sneaky, but two, because that would give me such deep anxiety to get that in the mail. I would freak the fuck out. And then I would be so angry when I opened it up and realized it was just Ted Cruz fucking with me.
They look like subpoenas, right? Or
Yes, they said summons enclosed.
And there was
They
another
look like
candidate
court
that
papers.
did one that looked kind of like a debt thing that would even freak me out more.
Oh no!
Yeah. Should we do this when people's subscriptions run out?
Yes. No.
Well,
No.
I don't think it
$60
works. I
in
think it's
current
make people
affairs.
mad.
You should pay your subscription fee now.
I can't imagine it does anything other than
Well,
make
it
people
clearly
upset.
didn't make people mad enough to not vote for him.
Well, it
That's
makes you keep the envelope and maybe open it. Which, like, for junk mail is half the battle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, just wrapping up then here. Any final thoughts on what we learned about our country and our future, if anything?
Never get your hopes up.
Oh,
I feel like
Blue wave.
things didn't shift as much as I thought they might. But that was this didn't feel like a referendum on anything. On like democratic socialism or on Trump. It just felt like, hopefully one solid step. That's sort of the optimistic view of it.
Right.
Or otherwise, it felt like the horizons of the conversation have expanded slightly, both towards authoritarianism and towards democratic socialism, but more or less everything stayed the same.
Millions of people voted.
Yeah,
Millions
there was high
more,
voter turnout.
Yeah, millions more
Yeah.
Democrats voted than Republicans, and that's awesome, and we have to keep doing that. And it wouldn't have happened without like lots and lots of organizing and people
Taylor
who
Swift.
aren't organizers who still put in the time to go knock on, not me, but others knock on
Others.
doors, canvas.
Yeah. Let's hope we can keep it up, because you always worry when like the kind of big juicy wins don't pan out, that next time people are not going to organize as hard. So
That's my main fear. Yeah.
hopefully that won't be what happens.
Yeah, especially because to me the big lessons here are, number one, 2020 is winnable because you see how close Andrew Gillum got. That election could have been won. You see how close Beto got. Texas can be turned blue, but you also see how easy it would be to lose. And a blue wave is not going to come automatically and save anyone. You can see how Trump can win re-election in 2020 pretty easily. I don't think it's inevitable, but I think it will happen if you don't work like twice as hard as we did this time.
Oh, I also want to echo something that Bree said on the recent podcast, actually, which was like, it was nice that there are younger, energetic people in the Democratic Party who also seem like they might be viable candidates for the presidency or for higher office, who are not like, we're not limited to Elizabeth Warren and oh, was that you? Oh, I'm sorry, Vanessa.
It's okay. It's an honor to be confused with Brie.
I felt like everyone was just like saying opinions a lot in that
Sorry.
one.
Go ahead.
Well, so as Vanessa wisely pointed out, a bunch of good, exciting candidates were not Elizabeth Warren or Joe Biden, who are both not that exciting and also will lose. And so, like, yeah, I don't know, Gillum O'Rourke 2020.
Well, that would be beautiful. Second. Yeah, there are possibilities. There are many things that are possible. Things that are horrible, things that are great. We'll see.
Wow, we had
If those directions would...
We're like the Nate Silver of adorable small left magazines. Could go either way.
There's a chance that things will go well, but chance just means that there's also a chance that things will go poorly. I'm not saying anything. Just so you know.
I love it. Well, thank you, everyone. This will bid farewell, having given you our many insightful pieces of analysis on last night's 2018 midterm elections. I've been Nathan Robinson, and I've been here with Oranimni.
Good night, everyone.
Vanessa A.B.
Good night.
And Brianna Reddix.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.